Hi, I'm Helena from Dream Weaver Jewellery. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a basic frame for a gemstone cabochon with a woven bail, which is the part where your chain goes through, and a little woven section at the bottom. So the first thing I like to do is put some weaving wire onto one of these little plastic bobbins. I'm going to be playing bobbin chicken, I think, today because I've not got very much on there, but I think that'll be just about enough for this project. You're also going to be needing 3 base wires, and I like to use 0.8 20 gauge square to make a start. So we're going to start by getting our 0.4mm weaving wire, and we're going to weave around the base wire in the centre, approximately, of the base wire, that is, 3 times. Next we're going to grab our second wire, again in the middle, and you want to just line it up on top but leave quite a generous gap. I like to call this gap the breathing space, and it essentially is there because when the weaving wire is round the base wire, that pretty much doubles the width of the base wire, so you need to leave a gap for the wire to be able to get back through, because I've gone round just the once on this top wire, as you can see. I'm going to grab our third wire in here. Again, leaving that little space. If you pull it too tight, basically all that happens is you can't get your weaving wire back through and you won't be able to push your weaves together neatly. We're going to go around this one twice in the same direction. I'm just pushing the weaves together here a little bit just to make sure it's nice and neat. And that gap's gone a little bit astray, so let's just adjust that top base wire. So, round for that second time. Now this time you're going to go down the back of the wires. Oops, just pulling them together a little bit again here. You're going to come up between the bottom and middle wire and then around just the once. Again, push those weaves together to make them nice and neat. Then taking that wire down and back around the bottom wire 3 times. I've just zoomed out a little bit here because I was struggling to do this on camera. I'm just readjusting those base wires, but basically we're going to start that weave again. So 1 wrap round the middle wire, 2 wraps around the top wire. Again, see how I'm putting a slight tension with my thumb, pressing it in with my finger. Instead of wrapping round and round, I kind of put a bend in the wire and then come back round again. This gives the wire a little bit of memory. And I find it helps tension stay a little bit neater. Let's go around that base wire another 3 times. We're going to repeat this weave till we've got around 1 inch. I think I had 10 loops across the top wire, if that makes sense, but just keep pushing that weave together. So I've come back now and we've got about 1 inch of weave. I'm going to turn it over. This gave me a bit of trouble, but I was just trying to get the little tail end of that wire back through, because basically we want all the cut-offs to preferably be to the inside. I'm just going to grab my side snips or flush cutters. These aren't very sharp anymore. I need some new ones. So I'm going to nip that off and then turn back to the front and just adjust that wire very gently, making sure you don't squeeze too hard because that will break the wire. And my base wire got bent a little bit out of shape there, so I just adjusted that. And then again we'll look from the front and check we're happy. Give a little bit of tension on that wire to keep that secure, and we'll snip that one off as well. Okay, so we're going to grab our pliers and pop them just off centre. Apologies for going off camera here. Still trying to get used to my setup. Right, so we're going to push with our thumb against the pliers. Rather than gripping the pliers and bending the wire, which could break your weaving wire, you're just going to use them to kind of hold and push against to create that V. Next we just need to grab our stone. This is a really pretty little sodalite that I had in my stash. So we need to kind of make an eye shape. So I'd start by putting some bends in these frame wires just to make an initial start. And I like to hold the stone down into the V and then squeeze the shoulders, which is the widest part of the stone, to kind of initially get that bend. This still gives me trouble to this day, and I've been doing this years, so sometimes it is easier to do it on a table, but just, you know, find your own way. You're basically just trying to create an eye shape to start with. So my weave just got a little bit out of shape here, so I'm using my nylon pliers this time because these won't mark your wire. So I'm just going to give them a real gentle squeeze through these pliers, and that will just help you keep them nice and straight. Let's go on to adjust this shape. What you're trying to achieve is getting that top crossed over section to be directly above the bottom V, like so. Next we're going to get our pliers, and I haven't got a lot of room here, so I'm going to have to do it upside down. I like to just ever so gently squeeze that cross together, because that's going to just make a very initial bend and show you where your base of your bail's going to start. So I'm just using my fingers here to kind of line up those frame wires. You can see one crossed over the other. We need to have them all laying on top of one another. And if we just get it together, get in there, bring them together and see how symmetrical it is. You can see here this side is just ever so slightly higher, and that often happens when you do it this way, but it's a good basis, I've found. It's my own method. It's just how I like to do it, so by all means, however works for you, that's absolutely fine. That's better, that's a bit more symmetrical now. Just give it a little check. Yep, there we go, that's more like it. So this is the front. We need to take that back left base wire and we're going to weave around that 3 or 4 times. And that's just going to secure the weaving wire to the frame. So push that weave together and then slide it up to just where the first bit of that bend is. Next we're going to line up each of the pairs of 3 wires so they're all sat next to each other, and bind all 6 wires together, but you need to make sure they don't cross over and they kind of sit in their respective sides pairs. So you've got 2 lots of 3. Just check your shape a little bit again and make sure it's not gone too astray. Okay, I only wanted 3 wraps around there. But basically what we're going to do next is take the front 2 left wires and bend them down, just out of the way, it doesn't matter at this stage, and the same with the right. This will keep your shape of your frame in place and give you a little bit of working room. To make the bail, we need to open up these kind of back wires into a fairly shallow V. I tend to kind of mirror the top of that eye shape, if that makes sense. So I'm putting a bit of tension here, and you're going to pull right down into the base of there and weave around that back left frame wire 3 times. Get it as deep into that V as you possibly can, whether that be with your pliers or your nails, whichever you can do. Next we're going to bring that weaving wire up through the middle and across to the right hand frame wire on the top. And you're going to pull it down again, right into that V, and you're going to wrap round 3 times. You want to keep these weaves as close together as possible, so just grab your pliers and don't put any force on them, but push down rather than grip the wire, push down. That'll just compress your weave together for you. Now, I suppose we're doing a figure 8 weave, but I've somehow gone wrong here and I came round the back by accident, but it doesn't matter. So as long as you put 3 loops every time around that wire and keep pressing them down, that's the most important part. So to start the figure 8 weave, I like to keep my base wire at 90 degrees to my weaving wire, as I find that is the best way to keep tension for me personally. It's not everybody's method, but it works for me. So 3 around that one, and then you're going to twist. Oh, no, you're not. You're going to sort that out. And then you're going to twist to go back. So your base wire is horizontal and your weaving wire is 90 degrees to it. I will bang on about this quite a lot because I think it's quite an important step. It will help you keep the tension on your weave. You should start to see this kind of figure 8 pattern emerging now. So again, let's carry on. And we're just going to weave till we have maybe not quite half an inch, maybe a centimetre's worth up the legs of this V. So we've got about a centimetre of weave now, and we're just going to start bringing these base wires back together again. I like to try and have a very small straight section rather than going kind of a triangle and another upside down triangle. So sort of just adjust it and hold it very gently at the base there, keeping those weaves compressed down until you've got this kind of diamond shape. Again, holding that little cross in place, I'm just going to squeeze. This is a better example this time. You see how the wires just kind of pop into place there. You can bend them out again a bit so they meet nice and neatly and you've got quite a symmetrical shape at the top. So let's continue weaving. So on these rows, as you come back down, you'll find that your wire is always trying to slip to the left. So you need to be really careful with your tension. So give it a bit of a tug there, then very, very gently, you need a little bit less tension on that cross back over. It's got to be quite loose. And remember that 90 degree and keep your finger in that position. So you're kind of rubbing the weave back down the frame wire and hold it in position with your finger. And when you actually do the rounds, you can put a little bit of tension on those. So again, when you come back across, just don't pull any tension at all. It's almost got to just lay there. And then when you've got that first curl in place, that's when you can start popping a bit more tension on for the next 2. It is absolutely imperative that you keep pushing these weaves down, otherwise they'll just continue to slide down to the left and it will look an almighty mess. Sometimes you just basically need to hold the weave in place with your finger just to make sure you keep the tension, because if you pull those longer bits of the figure 8 too tight, you'll just pull the eye shape too tight and it will look a bit of a mess. So I'm just going to do a few more rounds at normal speed to show you how I continue. Sometimes you have to basically hold it between your finger and thumb and just keep remembering that 90 degree rule. Give it a little push every time. I said I was going to play bobbin chicken, didn't I? So I haven't got very much left here, and I don't see the need to attach any more. If you do, obviously, do it as a round of 3 on the base wires, but I'm going to manage with what I've got just because we're so close to the end. So I skipped ahead a little bit here because I wasn't quite where I thought I was. So we're going to get as close as we possibly can before your little frame wires meet together. And making sure I'm really keeping this weave neat, I'm going to go around both base wires a couple of times. But I was finding this was slipping, so I've just ever so gently squashed that a little bit flat just to keep it in place. And again, don't press any tension because it will just slide down the frame. It needs to be big enough basically so there's enough room for it to sit where you want it to sit. So once I've gone 3 times around, oh no, sorry, 2 times around the frame, I'm going to go 3 times around the bottom base wire again to finish, and that's kept that weave really neat and all in place as best as we're going to get it ready for making our bail. So let's just go ahead and snip off that little tail. Okay, so I'm just going to roll that little tail end in my pliers just to make sure it's nice and secure. I also just want to make sure that other tail end at the start is nice and secure, so I'm pushing it up into the frame, snipping it off on the inside there, and again, little gentle press with those pliers to pop it in place. I always rub it with my fingers just to check there's no sharp bits that might catch on clothing. So there we go. Okay, so this is the back of your bail, and we're just going to hold it at the base there and fold it backwards slightly. And grab your bail making pliers. Now the trick to this is not to grip, you're only wanting just to have something in place so you can fold the bail over it. If you grip too much with your pliers, all that'll happen is you'll break those weaves and it'll be a right bloody mess. So just folding it over. You don't have to use bail making pliers, you can obviously use something else like a knitting needle. And then we're going to just post those little tail ends through the frame to the front to the back. And then we're just going to keep rolling. So you want to try and maintain a round shape, because your chain or your necklace, whatever you're using for your necklace thread, say, is going to go through there. So I want it nice and round so it's not going to catch and it'll slide freely. That's quite important. So just keep playing with it, making sure that weave hasn't moved too far. Then we're going to grab those last tail ends and pull them through. You need to make sure that the left sits to the left and the right sits to the right, if that makes sense. They don't cross over underneath. So I'm just going to grab what I'd call the adornment wires and just move them out of the way. Don't put any harsh bends in them, but just kind of bend them upwards. You can see here when it focuses that the right tail end's going to the right and the left's going to the left. So we'll grab that left one with a little bit of tension, fold it over the frame to the front like I've just shown you. Now we're going to grab our flush cutters and we're going to snip off the wire we don't need, but I like to leave about the width of the frame for the tail, because then you've got a little bit of space to fold it under and it not stick out the back, because you've got the kind of width of the wire to go as well. I also like to press against my thumb to give it some leverage, so you're not going to mark or bend any of your other wires. And when you've made that initial bend, little squeeze. It shouldn't need very much force, it's just a case of kind of pressing it rather than really squeezing it hard. You can attach both frame wires to the left if you wish, or you can bring one on either side. I've decided to come either side here. So again, we're going to fold the right hand one across. I noticed my wires weren't lining up all that great here, so I've just used my nylon pliers just to flatten them out and make sure we're not squeezing them and helping them cross. And again, we'll snip off that little tail end about the same width of the base wires next to one another. So let's grab our pliers again, and I'm resting it against my finger at the back there, squeezing it inwards and then gentle press. It's important you learn to do it gently from the start, because a lot of people are very heavy-handed, thinking they need to put a lot of force on the wire, and that's just going to mark your wires and make it more difficult. So here we go, this is our finished frame, ready for any adornment that you wish. Now the world is your oyster, have fun! Thank you for watching, and I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, please comment below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I'd be really grateful, and I'll be making a lot more free tutorials in the coming months. You can also purchase written PDF tutorials from me that you can follow along at your own pace. These have loads of pictures and explanations to help you learn some new techniques, and each one is aimed at learning a new skill. I'd also really love for you to join my Facebook group. It's called Wire Weaving for Beginners, and you can share your work and see all of everybody's latest creations. And finally, if you'd like to support my channel further, you might also consider hitting the Buy Me a Coffee link below. Here you can make a small donation so I can continue spending time making new free tutorials for you. Your support means the world to me. Thank you so much. Bye for now.